making $121 today in realized gains here on December 19th, 2023. All right, so today we're doing a trade recap. We have two positions here, Meta and S&P 500. I want to recap these here, but first let's dive into the Surge Trader dashboard to confirm. We have approximately 124 realized right there, and the account is up 261, putting us nearly at 52,300, which is approximately 45% of the way to our $5,000 target to get funded in the Surge Trader 50K audition. So let's dive into these trades. I want to pull up the S&P first. They're both still open. We see partial right here. They're both still open. Now, I went long 0.7, I guess you want to say units, of the S&P 500, and my initial target was for a $250 gain. Okay, I did take some partial profits, so we may be looking at a little bit less because I did lock in a small amount, which is only 22 bucks in profits so far. If you look at the entry point, you'll notice that if I zoom this bad boy out, let's go to a 4-hour chart, which is really what I took the trade off of. We had a nice break to the upside over these highs. I got in, didn't really do too much yesterday, and now it's pushing a little bit further today, and we did take a partial profit there. So here's the original trade. I have the micro mini S&P futures. This is just kind of what I was looking at. I didn't trade these specifically, but you know, same idea, same concept here. You can see that we're approaching, we're past halfway. We're approaching our target, which is going to be just shy of all-time highs, roughly on the S&P 500, and our risk was down under this higher low. Now, at this point in the trade, I can, and I very well may, move my stop loss up towards break even. And so this way we can't lose on the trade in case this was to reverse. Why would I do that? It would be because at this point in time, right, it's been many multiple 4-hour candles that we've now broken through. If we were to pull back here, this could just be a false breakout. And I don't want to get caught losing. Well, obviously I plan to lose that much, right? But in that scenario, this would invalidate my upside thesis if this were to come back below potentially this area, okay? So that's an idea that I could do. I haven't done it yet, but I could and I may go ahead and do that. Especially the higher it goes, the more interested I would be in potentially moving that stop loss up, right? Because then ideally, at this point, it's going to go. Either it's going to hit my target or it's not going to get there. And if it comes back down towards this area, you might fall into this chop again, and it may end up never hitting the stop loss before it goes, but you're going to be in this trade for a lot longer than you originally wanted to, and there's an opportunity cost potentially there. So that's just kind of practicing habits that I think will serve me in the long run. Now, the other trades on Meta. So let's jump over here back to Meta. I'll go back to our dashboard. On the month, we're up approximately $663, and those are realized gains. There's a lot of unrealized here that we still have, so we'll see how this closes out, and we got about another week and a half to go, so there's still a decent amount of time. So I'm not sure how much of this will get closed out by the end of the month. Maybe a lot of it will, maybe none of it will. We'll see. But let's jump back in here to our Meta trade. By the way, this is all tracked on TradeZella, where I track everything. So Meta, I locked in about $100. I originally went long 10 shares for a very wide. When I say wide, I'm looking big. I was looking big picture. And we don't have a weekly chart here on this, but essentially the idea was behind this was I was looking at the weekly time frame of Meta, and so I want to see Meta break out on the weekly, which it did, and then it pulled back and built a higher low. So let's jump back over here to my charts on TradingView to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So if you jump over to the weekly time frame, you'll notice that we had this uptrending kind of consolidation period, but my initial entry was actually, I believe, as we were pushing up right up in here. This is back in early November. And we can probably go back and find out. When did I enter this trade? Executions? Back on November 10th. So I've been in this trade for over a month to make $113 so far. And it's not that great, right? However, I don't have to really worry about this tying up my capital because it's not my capital. So I can wait. I don't really care. Now, my sizing has increased a little bit since this period. As I have progressed, just a little bit. So if I was to take this trade again, it would be a little bit larger size. However, I'm still letting the trade ride. My original take profit was around 350 for the first take profit on Meta. That's what we're achieving right now. We got 350. We're at 351 right now. But the idea here is see what happens at 350, which puts you pretty much right up against these highs. Okay. I will move my stop loss now back up to break even on this trade. so that I will not lose. I'll make $100 worst case scenario. And my target's now going to be just shy of this all-time high. So this all-time high, or this high, I believe of, yeah, it's all-time high. All-time high on Meta is up around in the low 380s. So that puts me at around 375 would be a logical spot to me for a sell. So I may sell the rest of it there. I may sell a chunk there and then see if it keeps pushing up and just move my trailing stop loss up, and moving on from there. But at this point in time, these trades become, I don't want to say free money, but they become easier to ride out because I'm locking good gains, and now I can let the rest of them work, and I'm not as worried about the downside risk because many of them don't have any downside risk if I move my stop loss to break even. And also, we've already locked in profits, so even if it does go back and hit my original stop loss, we're probably going to break even or maybe lose a tiny bit of money roughly if all went to hell, right? So that's the idea on the trade. So those are the two trades on Meta and the S&P. Other than that, we are just chilling what we have. I do have open positions on, well, the S&P there. We have a Tesla, we've got a Bitcoin, and we still have some Meta. So that's really the portfolio, or I don't want to say portfolio. That's what the account looks like right now. You know, a little past halfway in the month, how the stats looking. Profit factor of 2.88, that's really good. Win rate or win percentage of 53.85%. That's great to me. Again, for my stats, my strategy, what I've seen over the past year. And then my average win-loss is awesome. 177 average winner versus a 7190 average loser. That's great numbers, in my opinion, for how I've been operating my strategy. So the game just becomes continue to do what I'm doing and be selective, and then slowly up the size. There's absolutely no rush. I do want to touch on this really quick because it'll be something I touch on more of, as we progress, as we get closer towards this target. But the sizing, there's not an aggressive need and a push to size up a lot right now, because the problem is that if I was to go on a 1 month, losing streak potentially, or a month or two of just tougher conditions that are I don't adapt to very quickly. If I go through that period, we can give back a lot of the gains quickly if we size up. When I think it's more appropriate to do so is you get funded, you get yourself a cushion, and then once you get funded, I believe the rules are, as I've reached out to them, they eventually, after you take your first withdrawal, they lock you in at a level, a drawdown level. So right now I have a trailing drawdown, okay? 47.7, right? But they will lock you, let's say they lock me in at 48,000 trailing drawdown, and I can build my account up to 55, 56. Well, now I've got a pretty nice cushion. I can afford to size up larger here and build that size faster as you have that cushion. But in the trailing drawdown scenario through the audition phase, it's not worth it. It's more of like keep your size pretty consistent, inch it higher if if you feel like you can, and then go from there. There's a lot of different ways people go about it. That's kind of my view of how I want to do it. Either way, I feel pretty good about it. We're kind of just riding the moves. And yeah, while I'm fairly long the market right now based off the trade, they're just trades. It's based off the charts. I don't really know. I have no idea what's going to happen. And I am pretty impressed. If you were to jump over to the S&P, let's just, we just look at the chart over on the futures. But if you pull up SPY's chart, like here's the weekly chart, pretty impressive. The daily chart, right, continue to push. It's pretty impressive if you ask me. Now the volume is starting to fade out, which is not surprising as we approach this time of year into the holidays and stuff. But it's pretty impressive that it continues to push higher. But there's nothing that's necessarily telling me and screaming to me, look out. It's just kind of grinding up. So while people want to fight it, it is what it is. But just the charts are telling me to do this. And so when I see the setups I'm seeing, it's tough for me to say, well, I'm not going to say no because I think the market's going to go down. I don't know. I don't need to think anything. I just trade what I see. You know what I mean? That's been the approach the past couple of months, past couple of weeks specifically, and I think it's working pretty well. We'll see how it goes. Eventually, you're gonna have reversals, right? That's part of the game. It's just again how you manage that. So, thanks so much for watching. I'll leave links to TradeZelle where we track all this great stuff in the video description box down below, like always. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.